Hi, good morning, everyone. Before we begin, we will have to set some house rules for our fellow JPNs. Number one, we request everyone to please turn your videos and microphones off unless you wanted to ask our speakers some questions. You will be recognized after hitting the raise hand button on your screen. Number two, in connection with number one, if you feel anxious about turning on your videos or microphones, feel free to use our chat box and we'll be the one to ask it for you. Number three, fellow JPNs, please avoid spamming because we wanted to assure that there will be no lagging to occur during the conduct of this webinar.
Also, we would like to remind everyone to be polite at all times. Now, sit back, relax, grab your pens and paper as we are about to learn new things from this morning.
Reminders for the participants who just entered the meeting, you may still register for this webinar by clicking the registration form link given to you and that can be seen on the chat box. Thank you so much.
To
So
begin,
please, so please settle down for we are about to start.
may we call on Kay Havillana to lead us the opening prayer. Kay?
Let us first have a minute of silence and put ourselves in the presence of our Lord. Let us pray. Our most gracious and heavenly Father, we thank you for this day. We thank you for all the blessings that you have showered upon us. Father, as we gather here today, we are humbly asking for your presence to be with us. May you give our speakers the divine wisdom that they may share the most of their expertise about the topics. Bless the participants to absorb the knowledge and apply what we may learn today for your greater glory. We pray that you will guide the people behind this webinar that they may fulfill their task responsibly and achieve the objective that they desire. Father, we are humbly asking for your blessings and we trust to you whatever the outcome of this activity. This is all we ask in the mighty name of Jesus, our Lord and Savior. Amen.
Okay. Thank you, Kay, for that wonderful prayer. As it is a good day to start our webinar for this day with a prayer nga naman. So, asan? Oh, wala ako nakastart ng video. Yes. Ladies and gentlemen, we'd like to greet everyone. A lovely Sunday morning, rain is falling. Sure naman, baka umulan.
But we will not only make this Sunday morning lovely, but also a day filled with new learnings and experience. Are you ready, guys?
Yeah, me? Yes, of course, I'm ready. Actually, we are anticipating long enough for this day to come. Imagine Joshua Chagan, our VP for Academics, planned this webinar just last June, I think.
But now, anticipation comes with painstaking efforts, sleepless nights, and wishful thoughts now come to reality. So, what are we waiting for?
Yes, what are we waiting for? The long wait is finally over. I am Clara Abigail F. Gonzalez.
And I am Mitch Krija Bulasan. And we are your hosts for this Data
This is
Privacy Act
Privacy Act
webinar.
webinar. Yes. I think marami na ba tayo? So, I think it's time to check our participants' energy meter since it's early in the morning. Kailangan energy tayo lahat, ano?
Yes, as we call on your institution, you may turn on your mics and make a cheer or send a message in our chat box.
Yes naman. So, to start with, are you there? Assumption College of Nabunturan? Diyan ba kayo? Kaway-kaway naman kayo kung nandyan kayo. Virtual wave nga naman. So, wala, andyan ba? Parang hindi pa ata sila nakagising, ano? Gising na, wake up people, wake up! So, let's proceed to the next institution.
And how
Magpapatalo.
about for Yesu College? Let me hear you.
Ayun. So, actually, we skip another school.
Ay, sorry.
Kaya, balik tayo dun sa another school. So, yes, magpapatalo ba ang Ateneo de Davao University? Diyan ba kayo? Lloyd, diyan ba kayo? Hi, if you're there. So, next.
Yes, parang mga shy ang ating mga
Oh,
participants,
ayun.
ano?
Hi, Nolan. Hi, Nolan Benjamin.
Hi.
Hi, Aline. Hi, yes, go Adu.
Next.
Hi, Miguel. No, yun.
Next, how about the Holy Cross of Davao College?
Yes, hi, Holy
Hi.
Cross. Heart, heart. Okay, the next institution, Jose Maria College. Hello, hi, Mitch York.
Hi.
Hi.
You're Tagay.
Welcome. Hi there, John. So, of course, our new local chapter for this Federation year. Let's all welcome Lyceum of the Philippines University. Hi. Hi, everyone. Hi, Racine. Sheen, hi. Good morning.
Oh, it's nice to see new entries. Welcome to NFJPA Region 11 LPU.
Yeah.
Another new entry, meron pa. Please help me welcome Malayan Colleges Mindanao.
Oh, that's also new. Our new local chapter too.
Yes, thank you for joining our webinar, guys.
Yes.
Well, we also have from St. Mary's College of Tagum. Make noise, guys.
Make noise, make noise. Of course, let's proceed to the next institution, University of Immaculate Conception. Hi, guys. Good morning. Good morning. Yes. Okay. How about, yes, branch, University of Mindanao, Digos. Hi, nandiyan na ba ang taga Digos? Hello, good morning, everyone. Yes, halun, ayun na. Of course, my local chapter. Yes, huwag tayong papatalo, guys. University of Mindanao, Maine. Yes. Okay. So, hi, everyone.
We also want to hear from you, UM Panabo. Meron bang taga UM Panabo dyan?
I think meron yan.
Okay, so last but not the least, UM Tagum. Welcome. Hello, UM Tagum.
Ayun. So, yes, we are actually blown away by the number of participants who come to our webinar. I think habol yung iba since I think hindi pa sila gising, ano? So, yes, wake up na, guys. For currently, ilan ba tayo? I think, hindi ko na bilang actually. So, we have 59 participants for this webinar. We'd like to thank each and every one of you for participating and for having time for this event. Okay, what can you say, Mitch?
Now I'm getting excited sa mga upcoming events, lalo na't may mga new entries pala tayo from LPU and Malayan colleges. Now, Back to our topic, Abby. What comes into your mind when you hear the word Data Privacy Act?
So, okay, without doing my research, I think it is all about protecting our information and data. While
Wala
now,
ganon.
now with my research, it is Republic Act number 10173, otherwise known as the Data Privacy Act, is a law that seeks to protect all forms of information, be it private, personal, or sensitive. It's meant to cover both natural and juridical persons involved in processing of personal information. How about you, Mitch?
Well, for me, data privacy is very important. We need to hide relevant information about ourselves to protect our identity as individuals. Now, while the world is going digital, there also exists a high risk of our data privacy. Now, what am I expecting on this webinar are tips to help protect ourselves from the large number of risks.
Yes naman. Now, how about let's ask some of our participants about their thoughts too. If you have any thoughts, just comment it in our chat box and we'll be reading it for you. So, meron ba? Any thoughts, guys? Oh, close. Oh, parang tahimik nila. Hmm. So, since our speaker is already here, yes, Mitch, let's call on our VP for Academics, Joshua Chagan, to introduce our speaker for this Data Privacy Act webinar.
Thank you, Abby, for the introduction. Our speaker for today is an alumnus of the Ateneo de Davao University, having finished therein his AB Philosophy in the year 1994 and Bachelor of Law in the year 2003. He studied with the Ateneo Graduate School's Master in Business Administration program from 1996 to 1998. Since 1995, he has been serving as a faculty member of the Humanities and Letters Cluster of the Ateneo de Davao University, as a specialist in business ethics, bioethics, philosophy of religion, philosophy of the human person, Oriental philosophy, logic and critical thinking, as well as law on mass media. At present, he is a professor of the College of Law of the same university, with specific specialization in constitutional law. He is also an active in law practice in Davao City, as a former associate of the Aportadera and Aportadera Law Office in the year 2005 to 2009, and Dumalag Doromal and Associates, 2009 to 2011. He is a senior partner and co-founder of Quintanar and Pasqua Lawyers. In the year 2011 to present, he co-wrote Logical Thinking and Companion to the Science of Correct Reasoning, first and second editions, as published by the Ateneo Research and Publication Office, and Elements of Logic and Integrative Approach, first and second edition, as published and distributed by Rex Bookstore. He assumed the position of the University Registrar for Tertiary Education of the Ateneo de Davao University on August 1, 2011, and concurrently, its University Data Protection Officer on September 2018. Ladies and gentlemen, help me welcome our speaker for this morning's webinar, Attorney Edgar Pascua II.
Thank you. Good morning, everyone. I hope you are okay given the pandemic, and I hope you are not only physically okay, but spiritually, emotionally, and holistically okay. I am so honored to have been invited by the group. Actually, the invitation, uh, I received it as early as, I think, before June. Before June. But I could not refuse it, considering that the persons who invited me are some of them are persons I know and whom I dearly respect. Actually, yung lahat ng inyong uh, questions perhaps na essential in relation to data privacy, I hope I can address them. Actually, I prepared for the lecture on the Data Privacy Act on the law itself. But considering that there is also an expectation for me to give tips on data privacy, I will give it. Hatiin ko na lang ang aking lecture. Ang una, ang first half will be for the Data Privacy Act, the law itself. And the second half will be for the privacy tips. I hope we can learn something from this morning's session. Let me share my screen. Can you see my screen? No? I hope no. So you have the Data Privacy Act. What is the significance of this law? What is the impact of this law on current and existing practices? We have this saying right now that there is a new resource, and that resource is data. It's even considered by many as the new oil. And we know for a fact that he who has the oil, he who has the resource, has power, has influence, has an edge. There is in fact even a new phenomenon nowadays, a new field of economic concern, which is called data mining. Data mining can be interpreted in many ways. Among the one way of defining what data mining is or describing what it is the collation of information relevant to each other for exploitation and use. For example, ganito. There are companies out there whose main business is to do research on data, not only on personal information, but data in general. So what they do, like for insurance companies, um, they they collate data on possible clients, on prospects, and then they sell the data to or make use of the data, if not sell it to third parties, and they are paid for it. Right now, if you have the data, you have business potential. For example, um, do you know that one of the biggest transportation companies worldwide doesn't even need to own any single vehicle? And I know you have an idea of what that business is. You have Uber, for example. No, one of the biggest accommodations business nowadays doesn't even need to own a single hotel. And you know what that business is? That is Airbnb. So, meaning they do not have any tangible resource. But because they have the data for their consumers or clients, they have the data for their service providers. That data they can now use to generate income, to generate profit. So if you have the data, you have opportunities. Really, you have opportunities. I think um, I think you also remember or have heard of um, people talking about being able to receive text messages or phone calls from others, no, from somebody, a stranger, asking if he is interested in availing of this service from a hotel, of availing of this service from a resort or a credit card company. Tinatawagan or in-email kayo or tinetext. And then you feel parang ano, why do they, you wonder saan galing ang information na yan. Unknown to you, you have been the subject of data mining. You have been the subject of data mining, kinuha yung iyong data. Where did they get your data? There are several possibilities. For example, maybe when you filled up a form when you bought a new iPhone, maybe when you filled up a form um, when you joined book sale, for example, Big Bad Wolf, you put in there your phone number, your email, your address. So this data I'm not saying that that these specific companies are doing it, but that's the concept. This data, they collect it, they give you discounts, they give you freebies, but actually when they get the data, these hotels, book sales, or retail establishments, when they get your data, they actually earn from you, because the data that they collect from you and the other customers, they could sell to other parties. If they sell it to an insurance provider, they could earn as much as 10 pesos per person, a potential client, to 50 to 100 pesos per potential client. So that's the reality nowadays. Actually, that is something that you can contest, as you will later on learn. Um, Sometimes they pester you with several follow-up calls through their call centers. You are the new resource. Your data is the new oil. So that is now the new phenomenon. It is heightened by the use of modern technology for data collection. Right now, data can be collected easily in several ways. For example, when you make use, or when you enter into inside establishments, without you knowing it, your data is being collected. Your image, your video, your profile is being collected through the closed circuit TV cameras, the CCTVs. But of course, when you come inside an establishment, you actually have consented to the data collection if there is a notice that the premises is being monitored by a CCTV camera. That's the condition. But we will again learn of that later on. Right now, you have very powerful computers. And most of all, these computers are already at the palm of your hands, because you have now portable computers in your cell phones, right? Sometimes your computers and your cell phones, your mobile smart your smartphones are even more powerful computers than your desktop computers. They have very powerful cameras, powerful processors, and a very large storage capacity. Right now, you could easily duplicate documents to the use of scanners. In fact, not only do we have the high resolution scanners, your cameras also are effective scanners. When you are transacting through banks, you exchange information, you surrender information. When you fund transfer, for example, it's bank to bank, you surrender information. For employees, when they get inside their establishments to work, they surrender their information every day when they do biometrics. Aside from the fact that when they applied for work, they sent out their application forms to their employers with their resume, and that constitutes a collection of information. But every day, biometrics collect your information. Ano information ko na-collect ng biometrics every day? Not only your thumbprint, not only your password, but the fact that you are there. Your presence and absence in that establishment is already information. Right now, also, you may consider it as toys, but it is a very significant surveillance equipment. You have your drone cameras. With your drones and your cameras in the drones, you can actually pry into the privacy of your neighbor's residence without them knowing it. You could get into the places where you are not usually allowed. So there supposedly should be a regulation on the use of drones. To get further heightened by technology is the um, advent of not the advent, tapos na ang advent nito, is the use and overuse, the exploitation of online resources. Because right now, the massive use of online resources permit us, as we have proven during the pandemic, that we can, it permits us to still do business, not physically in our offices, but we can do businesses even at the comfort of our own homes. We can enroll online, as many of or most of the schools have done during these times when we cannot go to the schools, especially that persons at certain ages, the minors, cannot get out of their houses. You can do online banking, you can do online shopping, you can pay your taxes or update your tax statuses online. You can even uh, order food online, and you can socialize online also using Facebook. So everything that we do right now, especially, is heavily dependent on what is online, the services online. And if you try to look at all of these um, services, they do require data, the exchange of data. Right now, as we are here speaking, we have satellites orbiting the planet, taking pictures and even monitoring weather, and so on. We in fact cannot anymore be lost. If you get lost during this time, you do not know how to use Waze or Google Maps because of satellite technology. That's now possible. You will never be lost. You can easily be found for as long as you have your phone. There was this recent kidnapping case some years ago where it was easy for law enforcement authorities in the Philippines to um, to track the kidnappers. In China, actually, in China, um, they have this camera system that does facial recognition. Um, it can locate where you are. That's why in recent news, Chinese authorities, through the use of a CCTV that is registered to the Chinese government, have caught up with a wanted criminal because he joined a concert. You can look it up later on in Google and tell me what can you can say about it, siguro, no? Or you can verify if I'm telling the truth. But it's in the news. They got hold of a criminal who was within a crowd of concert goers, thousands of them, and the facial recognition technology allowed for monitoring of persons and their activities in China already. So alarming because right now your mobile phones already have the facial recognition technology. So it's already here. Now, last year, it was Asia who had the highest population of internet users. Of the billions, the 7 billion population, 7.7, almost 8 billion population. Asia um, got 2 billion of internet users. Of the 4 billion of the 4 billion Asians, almost more than one half are internet users. So if you look at the graph, sorry. So if you look at the graph, Asians always lead the way in, maybe it has something to do with TikTok and Facebook. I do not know. Because if you look at the video circulating online, mm, Asians are very prominent, even with pranks. Right now, in 2019, of these Filipinos, of the 108 million Filipinos, 79 are active internet users. And of the 79 million, 62 million are active on Facebook. And some of you right now, while listening to me, are also active on Facebook. I know, because that is what I also do when I listen to webinars when the speaker is boring. But I hope you just don't turn off the volume. So um, it's alarming. Um, it may be a fun fact, but it's also alarming because the 62 million Facebook users and the 79 active internet users are prone to um, breaches, data breaches, are prone to identity theft, are prone to um, uh, the intentions of unscrupulous individuals who may use their personal information. Kasi tayo ngayon, we are fond of uploading everything. Uploading our food, uploading our gadgets, uploading the pictures of our pets. What's worse is that we upload very sensitive personal and family information that should not be uploaded. You have to remember, young people, that there is a wisdom in saying that you do not, wash your dirty linens in public. If you have problems with your school, problems with your family members, if you have nothing nice to say, then might as well keep it to yourselves because ang dami ngayong cases on cybercrime of libel. Not only that, it's libelous sometimes yung ating mga sinasabi, but when we overpost, we overexpose ourselves to danger. Okay. That's why we have now the Data Privacy Act because of the possible threats to privacy. This is timely because actually yung data privacy laws, actually matagal na ang data privacy laws natin. But there is only a formalized Data Privacy Act which was made into law almost a decade ago. But it was heavily implemented and strongly pursued by law enforcement in 2018 kasi nung 2018 medyo the Philippines was already ripe for the law sa aking perspective ha, and there were already so many incidents of breaches. Example ha, of recent breaches, you may have heard of the issue about Wendy's. Wendy's got hacked, I think sometime 2018, I think. Early 2019, when hackers got into the data bank of Wendy's and got hold of personal information of its customers. Mahalaga 'yon kasi ang mga kasi tie up sila ng I think Jollibee ang kanilang data bank. Ano ang information na nandoon? Addresses, names, phone numbers, right? Together with Globe Telecom, if you remember earlier on, Globe also issued a privacy breach notice because na-hack din sila. Same, phone number, addresses, billing addresses, account numbers, so on. That's so dangerous. If you remember, there was a service before in Manila, Uber. If you go to Manila, you won't be hesitant in transportation concerns because you have already Uber. So, ang ginawa ng Uber kasi, na-hack sila sa abroad. But since interconnected ang system ng Uber, they never reported it to the Philippine government, Uber Philippines. So eventually, that's the first one. The second error ng Uber, binenta nila yung kanilang data sa Grab. They sold their data sa Grab without the permission of the data subjects, yung mga customers nila. That's illegal. And they did not report it to the National Privacy Commission. There is the issue about Cambridge Analytica and Facebook, where allegedly Donald Trump used information profiled by Cambridge Analytica to win the elections. Because right now, you could win elections, be popular if you are on Facebook. We have new up and coming personalities. We have people who suddenly get into the political arena. We have new celebrities because of Facebook. Kasi napakalawak ng audience ng Facebook. So ginawa ng Donald Trump daw was to engage Cambridge Analytica who profiled account holders of Facebook to predict voter behavior and to influence them. Kasi if you post too much on Facebook, you will be conditioning voters. Like if you post on Facebook news about surveys, if you post on Facebook news about certain political issues, you'll be conditioning voters as to certain issues. Then there's this Bangladesh bank issue abroad sa Bangladesh. Sila din ay nanakawan. At paano sila ninakawan? Hindi sila pinasok ng mga bank robbers like money heist. What the robbers did was get into their computer system because they got hold of an account of one of the employees of Bangladesh Bank. They hacked into the system and siphoned billions of dollars all throughout the world. And one of such banks was a bank in Manila. I forgot what that bank is. I think it was not sure, but I think it was RCBC. I'm not sure. And so one of the managers in the bank was held liable for the incident. No. So we have now, again, the law. The law, we have the long title as read by our host kaganina, but it is simply called the Data Privacy Act. This is not a new, this is a new law, but not so new because ano na ngayon 2020, but this is the hype about data privacy only came in a couple of years ago. And siguro you only have heard of the Data Privacy Act just recently. But it was matagal na siya, 2012. But before this law, meron na tayong existing regulations. One is the Constitution itself provides for the general guideline or restriction as to the privacy of individuals. Article 3, Section 2 of the Constitution prohibits intrusions into the privacy of your personal homes, papers, houses, persons, and effects against unreasonable searches and seizures. So nobody can just get inside your house. No government official, no policeman can just get inside your house to get into your documents. Bawal na siya. They cannot open your letters. The privacy of communications and correspondence is also in the Bill of Rights. But that was the 1987 Constitution, huh? And then because of the advent of because of the use and overuse of the computer technology, of the internet, the information superhighway, this law becomes timely right now, the Data Privacy Act. So the Data Privacy Act actually has 4 significant players: the National Privacy Commission, your data, the data subjects, and personal information controllers. Yun ang 4 na elements ng Data Privacy Act. Isa-isahin natin. Let's dissect it. First is data subjects. Who are data subjects? Data subjects are those whose personal information are processed. Sino yun? Sino yun? Tayong lahat actually. Tayong lahat. Be it empleyado ka, be it estudyante ka, you availed of Grab Taxi, you paid for, you got the services of the yung McDo or Jollibee na app, when we applied for a line sa PLDT, when we subscribe to certain online services, we have become data subjects. All of us are data subjects. We have our birth certificates at PSA. We have our driver's license. These are information somewhere stored and processed. So tayong lahat are data subjects. Ano pala yung processing? Diba? Data subjects are those whose data are being processed. What do you mean by processing? Processing is actually anything that you do with data, be it automated or nasa papel na minamanually process mo. You look at the definition. Processing refers to any operation or any set of operations performed upon personal data, including, and then, not limited to, meaning open-ended siya. Examples lang pala ang nasa definition ng law. Collection, recording, organization, storage, updating, modification, retrieval, consultation, use, consolidation, blocking, erasure, destruction, anything. What are mentioned in the law are only examples of what can be done to your data. So it refers to anything that you do to the data, even by keeping it in the filing cabinet. Even if you just have been handed over the document, pag nung binigay sa iyo yung document, you already have processed anything. Collection, di ba? So processing may be the processing using Excel, processing by encoding using your Microsoft Word, filing could be automated or manual. You manually file documents inside the folders inside your cabinets. That's data processing already. So what is processed? What are processed? The personal or sensitive personal information of data subjects. What are personal information? Personal information is any information that you readily give out. Yung parang nagpapakilala ka, readily give out. Ano pangalan mo? That's personal information. Sometimes your profile is your personal information. Your complexion, your height could be your personal information. Ang aking tingin dyan ay yung pinaka-readily available it's not superficial information, but apparent information that could be easily collected. So you can process personal information generally with consent or by contract, as a matter of legal obligation, interest of health, so on and so forth. But I'm not actually concerned more of personal information. I am kasi nga personal information readily give it out, di ba? I am more concerned with what we call sensitive personal information. The second category of personal information is what is sensitive. Data that can be traced back to the individual, and if this is disclosed, could result to serious effects on that person. So, what are examples of this? Your data about your race, ethnic origin, marital status, age, color, religion, philosophical, political affiliations. Yun. Kasi yung political affiliations mo, mahalaga yan. Delicate information yan. Especially if in case we are governed by persons of criminal intent, or yung mga tyrants or dictators. So like in the time you may like to read your history, but there were instances of enforced disappearances during the time of Marcos. Imagine if that same thing happens to us, enforced disappearances, because certain persons or parties know of our political affiliations. Record about your health, education, genetic or sexual life, and so on. Ano ito? Yung mga records na nasa doctors ninyo, nasa clinic na inyong schools, inyong grades na nasa registrar's office na puro matataas kasi magagaling kayo. Yung inyong mga sakit or whatever. The third category is yung mga ini-issue sa inyo ng government, ng mga permit numbers, SSS numbers, GSIS numbers. Yun. And those which are required by law to be kept classified. So, you only generally, as contrary to personal information, sensitive personal information generally cannot be processed. So the general rule, kapag sensitive personal information, hindi pwedeng i-process unless there is consent, unless permitted by existing laws and regulations. For example, yung schools ninyo could process your grades because they are regulated by the Commission on Higher Education. If it's necessary to protect life and health, for example, yung mga instances of may humihingi ng number itong isang competent personality because of the threat to suicide, then bibigay yung number because it's necessary to protect health or life. Okay. Medical treatment, protection of lawful rights and interests of data subjects. Then you have the personal information controller. Ano yung personal information controller? Ang personal information controller, siya yung kumukolekta ng information mo, ng data mo. Sa case ng mga students, yung schools are personal information controller. Kung sa government institutions like GSIS or SSS that collects personal information, they are the PICs. They collect data, they process data relating to your personal information. And then you have the fourth element, the National Privacy Commission. Ito yung enforcement agency ng Data Privacy Act. Ito yung ating kasama sa protection ng privacy ng every citizen. So, where does the law apply? It applies, again, the Data Privacy Act applies to all types of processing of personal information, manual or automated, and all types of personal information. Second, for as long as you are doing business in the Philippines, be it natural person, tayo, individually, or corporations. Diba? You remember in your classes, juridical persons are entities created by law or by the corporation code, for example. So natural and juridical persons involved in personal information processing. It includes even those found those outside of the Philippines but they have equipment here or they maintain a branch here. So kasama sila sa coverage ng Data Privacy Act. If you read the law, medyo complicated yung Data Privacy Act. But we can summarize it by this enumeration of the rights of the data subjects. So the right to be informed, to object, to access, rectify, erasure and blocking, data portability, complaint, filing a complaint, and damages. Okay. If you know these rights, if from here on you master these rights, then I tell you, you already have mastered the Data Privacy Act, because the Data Privacy Act is simply about all these rights. So remember these rights because you could later on use this when you transact with others, and you remember these rights because eventually when you become professionals in your industries, you have to know this so that you won't get into trouble kasi may penalties kasi ang violation ng mga rights na ito. First is the right to be informed. It is the right to be informed of the person that his personal data will be or are being or were collected and processed. Papaalam doon sa tao na we have your information, we have your data, and we can process and we have collected or processed it already. So ito yung what, where, when, who, why, how of data privacy. Dapat alam ng iyong client or pinaalam sa iyo kung ano yung nature or extent ng data collected as far as you are concerned. What data are this? Ano ang purpose ng collection ng data? Ano ang basis ng processing? So, let's contextualize it kasi most of you are students. Nung nag-enroll kayo doon sa inyong registrar's office or sa inyong school, dapat nakalagay ito or doon sa inyong application. Ano ang kailangan ng school ng mga records ninyo? Para sa ano? Ano ang basis? The basis is for the private schools, the Manual of Regulations for Private Higher Education. Ano ang scope and method of processing? Automated ba? Manual? Sino ang tatanggap ng data na ito? We can share the data. They will say na the data will be shared with the CHED, the DepEd, the Civil Service, the PRC, so on and so forth. Methods used for automated access. Kung may automated access ba, may website ba, or may automated system ba ang inyong school? Sino ang kumukolekta the complete address of your school and the data privacy officer? Hanggang kailan tinatago yung documents niyo? For schools, actually, it becomes permanent record. And then an enumeration of your rights as data subject. Yung sa huli, there should be an enumeration of all of this na nakalagay doon sa form. Okay? So, that's why, like in our school, because I'm the registrar of Ateneo, nakalagay yan sa window. Yan, the data privacy policy, which contains all of this. So, an explanation kung nasaan ano ang records na nasa amin, ano ang hanggang kailan na may inikikip ang records ninyo. But in our school, though I have a data privacy policy or notice in the window, sa taas yan is itong sa taas pala, yung notice that the area is being monitored by the CCTV. Kasi nga, even the collection of your video sa CCTV, dapat may right to be informed kayo na your video is being taken. Kasama yan sa mga karapatan ninyo. So dapat pinapaalam sa inyo. Kung walang notice, you can actually complain. Kung walang notice. Sa school namin, sa Ateneo, ito yon. Sa gates, may mga ganito, privacy notice. And I know that many of you may have it in your schools, but you don't care to read it. But you can see something like this sa SM, sa Abriza. You go to the concierge doon sa front desk. Naka-post yan or naka-standy. Yeah, if you go to the mall, ay bawal pala. Bawal lumabas, sabi ni Kim Chu. Kasi mga kids, you are of a certain age pa na I think you are prohibited from going out. You have this privacy policy in the front office of the mall. You will notice that later on pag you will go out to the malls na. Don't worry, don't go out sa malls. There's nothing to miss. Still the same mall. And what are you going to buy there anyway? There will be no party, so no need for new dresses. Just antos lang sa gamay. Tiyaga muna. Patience. Okay. So, the next right is the right to object. When you can object, pwede kang umangal. You can object or withhold your consent if there are legal grounds, if there are valid grounds, unless your data is being kept pursuant to law, you cannot object. Okay, so you can object if your personal information was processed without your consent. Like yung sinabi ko na one time, I was talking to a friend, then somebody called up selling insurance. I know, sorry, collecting credit card debt. So ako na kausapin ko, sabi ko, ako na, excuse me, you are calling from a call center, you are representing ganito na bank company. May I ask if this service is sanctioned by the credit card policy na pwedeng i-delegate ng bank to a third party yung collection? Kasi if not, I will go to court. Yan na ako. And he hung up on me. Kasi yung credit card companies cannot just, or collection agencies cannot just be hired by loan agencies or by banks to collect money in their behalf unless you consented to it in your policy. So you double check kung may mga ganyan. And then, eto, another instance is withdrawal of consent due to amendment of the privacy notice. If there was a change in the privacy policy and then you cannot agree to it, then you can object. Unless, again, if the collection of data is by virtue of law. For example, you cannot object to the school na kinukolekta yung grade ninyo kasi ang collection ng grade ng school ng grade ninyo is pursuant to law. The right to access. Ano itong right to access? Of the copy of the information in their possession. So you may have the right to know the content, but generally you have the right to know the nature. Remember kaganina on the right to be informed on the notice. You reverse it. Kung ano yung nandoon, you can ask access. You can ask access to the content. You can ask access to the sources of the content. Saan galing ang grade na ito? Saan ang class record? Saan ang birth certificate na basis ng aking birth date na you can even ask for
Oh, I think nawala si Sir. Nawala ba si Sir? I think, Sir, I think Sir Edgar having, I think nawala si Sir. So, we're gonna wait for him. I think he's currently experiencing internet problems. So, hi. Nandiyan po ba kayo, guys? Hello, people!
Hi.
Ayun.
Hello.
Ayun. So, please wait for a while lang muna. Hintayin natin si Sir, ha? So, while waiting, we would like to thank our sponsor for this webinars. We have CSIP, Gores and Vilay, sorry, SGV and Co, and also Premier. Oh, dito na ba si Sir? Oh, wala pa rin si Sir. So, yeah, chit-chat muna tayo, ano? While waiting. Okay. So, okay. Yes. May gusto ba kayong ipa-shoutout, guys? While we are waiting, we can do the shoutout muna. Shoutout. Okay. Sino gusto niyo ba ipa-shoutout? Ako. Ay, shoutout sa nanay ko. Hi. Okay. Shoutout daw sa nanay ni Ayop, Dave Earl C. So, hi mother ni Dave. Actually, we are also live on YouTube, guys. So you can also watch our webinar there if you want. And for those, ayan no, on natin ang video. So, yes. So, ayun, bumalik
Okay,
na
I'm
nga si
back.
Sir.
Okay,
Yes, Sir
sorry
is
ha.
back.
Mm,
Later na lang
okay.
ating shoutout, guys, ha. I'll proceed na tayo sa ating back to discussion with Sir Pasqua. So,
Okay. Sorry we got cut off. I think like right now, one of the problems about online education is that dumarami ang gumagamit ng internet and then napuputol bigla. Kasi nga, we will expect more problems actually when it comes when the month of October comes, when the basic ed already has started classes. So we'll have more problems. But anyway, I hope you are learning something so far. Basta, after this seminar, when you talk to people, you'll be talking like a law student already. Okay? Sige. So the next is the right to rectify. The right to rectify is your right to have corrected any error in your data in the hands of a personal information controller. Example, sa school. Sa school, kung mali ang grades ninyo, you can actually ask for a grade rectification kasi karapatan ng estudyante yan. So remember, kung mali ang grades, pag sa college, you have 1 year to have it changed. 1 year to have it changed. But depende din sa policy ng school. But the CHED allows 1 year for grade correction. Why is it important? For example, insurance companies or pensions, pensions. For example, nagkamali ang SSS or GSIS ng iyong birth date. Then ultimately, kasi mali ang data on your birth date or mga beneficiaries mo, kapag may nangyari sa iyo, for example, you're about to retire, hindi ka pa pala pwedeng retire kasi yung birth date mo was erroneously encoded, so you still have 5 more years to serve kasi mali ang date. So mahalaga yung entry. Or for example, yung date of birth pa rin or yung name of beneficiaries, kung mali ang beneficiaries ng insurance or ng SSS, magkakaroon ng problem na when your beneficiaries would claim for the proceeds if something happens to you. That's why you have the right to rectify errors in the entry ng iyong data doon sa mga businesses or agencies ng government. So, what should be done? Kapag ang agency may mali sa kanyang entry, they should actually act on it immediately. They should act on it immediately. And once it is corrected, they must give a corrected copy doon sa client and then send out the corrected data to all the agencies where the wrong information was sent to replace the wrong information. For example, sa inyo, students, grades, nagkamali ng computation, nagkamali ng encoding. What will happen is the school will have to give you a copy of the new grade and send out the corrected grade sa CHED or sa PRC or sa civil service. Dapat. Okay. And then the data subject should be informed kung ano ang actions taken. So know that that is your right. Right to erasure or blocking. Example, this is the right to suspend or withdraw require the removal of or destruction of the data for valid reasons. Um, you can ask the establishment to delete files in its records. For example, you have applied for a job. You have applied for a job for a specific function. You sent out your resume, your transcript, and so on and so forth. Hindi ka natanggap, you can actually require that company to delete or destroy that information that you have earlier submitted. Or if the purposes for your data no longer exist, you can actually ask for its removal or destruction. This is not a this is similar to, or not, this is also in recognition of certain information that is not personal, but this is data that needs to be kept for a certain period of time, like mga receipts. Hindi siya kasama dito kasi requirement ng government the keeping of receipts and ledgers for a certain period of time, maybe a SEC or BIR requirement. Okay, so data portability. What is data portability? Data portability, well, it could be easily said na data portability is for you to give your thumb drives, your flash drives, then bigyan niya ako ng kopya, but it's not. Data portability means the transfer of information from one agency to another because of consent or convenience or practicality or relatedness of functions. For example, you know that if you work for government, you will be under the GSIS. If you work for the private sector, you will be under the SSS. What is data portability? For example, you work for the private sector. You have information there, place of birth, beneficiaries, so on and so forth. Now, you suddenly get employed in government. So from SSS, ato na ka GSIS. What portability means here is you don't have to re-encode or resubmit your files because your records in the SSS is carried over to GSIS. That is data portability. I think that has yet to be implemented for most offices. But with that technology use, it will be a lot easier for us to transact with the government, and there is fluidity or continuity of information, consistency. The right to file a complaint. If the personal information controller has misused your information, you can actually complain. Where do you complain? You complain to the institution first. Oy, bakit nyo kinukolekta na walang permiso sa akin? Why do you have erroneous entry? So on and so forth. If they don't listen, then you go to the court or you go to the National Privacy Commission. Because aside from you, the owner of the data subject, the National Privacy Commission can help you out in processing your complaint. They can make advisory opinions, and in fact, they can initiate a complaint in itself, no, in its own initiative. Who else can file a complaint? Aside from you, your beneficiaries, for example. Okay, if you already have died, for example, and then you're about to claim your insurance, and then di ka makapag-claim kasi mali ang mga pangalan ng mga beneficiaries because of the error of the PIC. So you can file a formal complaint with the National Privacy Commission, or you can email it, no? Aside from the tangible physical paper, you can email it. Right to damages. This is already in the court. Kaganina, the complaint is with initially with the National Privacy Commission, and then the establishment itself. But actually, if you complain in court, you can be paid damages. What are damages? Mga sa ano pa, if you have been watching Filipino movies, damyos for sleepless nights, lost opportunity. So there are several types of damages. You can have moral damages. You can claim money as payment for moral damages. Damages will be your moral damages is sleepless nights, besmirched reputation, anguish. You can ask for payment for that inconvenience. actual damages. Because of the wrong entry ng iyong data, you have lost opportunities. You have been denied of your visa. You have been denied scholarship kasi mali ang grades na na-encode. You have been disallowed to take the board exam. You can actually claim for damages. Okay. So aside from moral damages and actual damages, you can have also exemplary damages, but that the payment there goes to the court, not to you. Among others, ha? Marami kasing klase ng damages. So, another right, aside in the culmination of all these rights, is the right against breaches. So there is personal data breach, which is criminally guarded or guarded under criminal penalties, criminal law penalties for accidental or unlawful. So either you are negligent or you have intended it contrary to law, destruction, loss, alteration, or unauthorized access. Nasira mo yung file, nawala mo yung file, na-change mo yung content, you allowed other persons to access it, you have accessed it without consent. You can be made liable, or as the victim, you can file a case against such breaches. These are the penalties. I will share something about these penalties a bit lang ha. So, unauthorized processing. Kapag personal information ang kinolect, profiled, or evaluated, and so on and so forth, or shared, 1 year to 3 years of imprisonment and say 500 minimum to 2 million. That's not damages, that's fine. This is aside from damages. Fine, you pay to the government. Damages, you pay to the person aggrieved. But if it's sensitive personal information, mas malaki. You look at your screens, it's from 2 to 6 years of imprisonment. And the fine is from 500,000 to 4 million. Ang laki. So access due to negligence, kunwari, na you wrongly emailed the information to another. Or you left your computer open, na access ng iba yung iyong data. Kapag sensitive personal information, 3 to 6 years and up to 4 million of fine. It's not or ha, it's and. Improper disposal. For example, hindi mo na shred yung paper, tinapon mo lang siya na may personal information that is sensitive. You go to jail, 1 to 2 to 3 years of imprisonment and up to 1 million of fine. And then the last one is hacking. You also are penalized for that. Among others, marami kasing actions that are criminalized under the Data Privacy Act, but these are the most popular. And if you are a government officer, kung gaano katagal yung imprisonment, for example, 1 to 3 years, that times 2 niyan is your disqualification from holding public office. So kahit lumaya ka na or you got probation, you can still be disqualified from occupying your old post or being hired in public office for the twice the number of years when you supposedly should be in prison. So, who coordinates the protection of these rights? It is the data protection officer. In your schools, there is a designated data protection officer, the DPO. You can, for all your data concerns, you file a request or manifestation with your DPO. The DPO must act on it. The DPO must bring the matter up to the National Privacy Commission or appropriate government agencies kung kailangan to protect your rights. Like ako, I am the DPO of our school. I am obligated to protect the data privacy of my students. We'll just skip with this kasi okay, ito summary. In general, what should you do? You keep your data private and confidential. You process it only with consent and only as needed. So do not keep data when it is not necessary to keep them. Do not process data kapag walang consent. And of course, important then you dispose of data properly. I will go to the second part na lang, ha? I will not give this to you. Okay, wait ha. I hope you are still okay. Okay, I hope you can see my screen because I'm having problems with mine. Can the host tell me if she can see the screen?
Yes po, sir. We can see the screen po.
Okay, thank you.
Okay po.
Okay. So let's go to the more practical applications or practical hints, no? While we are working or even studying online. Okay. So first, okay, while we are working online or from home, remember you have to have strong passwords. So for you to have strong passwords, you have to remember, you must also have a password that is memorable. Kasi what good is a password for if you can't remember it, you will be losing the account forever. I know of certain mga kaedad na ako and older know who have accounts in Facebook na multiple accounts in Facebook, and then they cannot retrieve their Facebook accounts anymore or their email accounts kasi they forgot their password. So you should have a memorable password or phrase. But what is memorable to you may also be memorable to somebody else na kakilala ka. So you must protect it by adding numbers to your password. For example, if my password is academics, I add my birth year, 1973, at the end of it. Kasi mas mahirap siya i-hack if there are numbers together with the letters. So dagdagan as password. Let's make it more complicated. You can replace the word with the letters in the word with numbers. The academics 1973, I have replaced the letter E with number 3, letter I with number 1, and so on and so forth. Diba? Or if you have multiple accounts, multiple services, I suggest you have slight differences in the passwords. Kasi if your password for one account is hacked, then he can hack all the other accounts that you have. So you alter your password for every service that you have availed. For example, if my password is academics with the numbers and letters, 1973, I will write or include the letter G at the beginning or at the end of my password for Google. For Shopee, kasi mahilig kayo sa Shopee or sa Lazada, you can use of L at the beginning or L at the end. Tips lang, baka pala useful sa inyo. Or Facebook. Okay? Strong passwords could be made if you have mixed the numbers with the letters. And then you can also put some letters as capital, small, some are in capital letters, some are in small letters interchangeably. Make it more difficult for you or for the others to hack your password. There is a software kasi, password generator, but it's more difficult to generate passwords that are a mixture of capital and small letters, of numbers and letters. So where do you usually keep your passwords? You usually keep your passwords under the table, under your phone, sa monitor mo, drawer. These are the common places for your place your passwords. I am placing this right here now so you won't place it there anymore. Don't put your passwords anywhere obvious. Don't write it down. Nag-password ka pa if you're going to write it down. Okay? Also, do not share your office or personal accounts, your work accounts, your school accounts with others. Um, when you give somebody your password, it's like giving them the keys to your drawer, your bedroom. They will know what dirty underwears you have. They will know your secrets. When you share your passwords, if it's a work password or your password in school, they could play around if you know the password is mishandled. They could pry into your account, your work, your email, your whatever, and eventually possibly that carelessness would lead to um, possible alterations in the entries or misuse of your emails. So do not expose yourselves, do not make yourselves vulnerable. When you transact with others online, you always require a competent proof of identity. Eventually, if you'll be working after you graduate, you'll be graduating soon. Do not transact online or just even personally, kanang face to face. If you are doubtful of the identity, especially of the person face to face, you have to require a competent proof of identity. A competent proof of identity in our law practice is any government issued ID bearing the photo and the signature of the data subject. The SSS, the driver's license, the PhilHealth ID. There are some IDs na walang photo, hindi pwede yon. Okay. A cedula is not a competent proof of identity because you can get your cedula anywhere. Madaling kunin ang cedula. Hindi pwedeng gawing ID ang cedula. Ang cedula ay bayad mo sa services ng iyong barangay or local government, but it is not an ID. Pwede pa siguro ang NBI clearance. Pwede pa siguro na, baka pwede yan. Passport, pwede yan, but not a cedula. Require proper authorization when there will be instances where people will transact with you in behalf of somebody else. When they transact in behalf of somebody else, you must ask for a proper authorization. The Data Privacy Act does not actually require an SPA, but an SPA is most ideal because it is attested to in front of a lawyer by a person competent to administer oath. Okay? But if there is no authorization, there is no SPA, do not transact with that person acting in behalf of another. Inquiries over the phone. Do not give personal information over the phone. You may, however, answer general questions. Like if you are working for a bank, for example, you can disclose kung kailan mag-open or mag-close yung bank, but you cannot give personal information kung pumunta ba dyan si isang client or ano ang phone number ng isang client, ganyan, or saan nakatira, bawal yan. Okay? Yung kasing phone kasi, anybody can just buy a SIM card and ask questions. It's very difficult to verify the identity of the person at the other end of the line. When you send files online, double check always kasi when you send a file online, the file no longer becomes your own confidential document. When it's shared out there. Check on the content. Baka you may be sending the wrong file. Check the email address of the receiving party. Baka you may be sending it out to the wrong party. Remember, improper disclosure is a crime under the Data Privacy Act. Ask also for what is the purpose of this request. That's why many would be emailing me, mga students ko or students ng university namin. Now, I will not respond to unless they use their official school email or when they have attached their IDs. And look also of the capacity of the requesting party. Ano ang kanyang capacity? Why is he requesting? May authority ba siya? Example, another one ha. Ito. Sorry sa group ninyo ha, pero ganito another instance. When you send out a file bearing your signatures and even letterhead, do not send out a Word copy. Kasi pwedeng i-edit yan. Do not send out a copy that can be edited. Send out a non-editable copy. For example, itong letter ninyo sa akin. Sample lang ha. So you sent me an MS Word file requesting for this seminar. So what if I will edit that? I have your signature, right? See, I could say there that Attorney Pascua, our organization is going to give you a new motorcycle, ganyan. Wala na. I have your signature kasi. So what you do, when you send out documents, convert it to JPEG or PDF, and then you blemish it a bit. Dapat marumi ang paper. Like, you go to government websites, they do not have clear copies of documents. Always slanted konti yung paper, may mga lines, or slightly discolored yung background. And then the signatures must overlap the letters para dili siya madaling i-grab. Okay? I will make use of your letterhead now and then expel members because I have the letterhead na. So, do not allow unverified or unauthorized inquiries. This is the phone-in inquiry. Let's just skip that. Do not post personal information of others online without their consent. Your teachers cannot post your grades online without your permission. Remember that. Kasi sometimes it's offensive kasi and source of bullying if the others see your grades. So if you have teachers posting your grades online, you tell your teachers. Attorney Pascua said that you cannot post your grades online. Who is Attorney Pascua? He was our speaker. He is the data protection officer of one school. Tell them that they cannot post even your addresses online. They cannot post your cell phone numbers online. As much as you cannot also do that to others. Do not share virtual meeting details. There is a phenomenon called Zoom bombing. It happened in Singapore, I think, na during lectures, pornographic material was shown on screen by a hacker. Kasi nga, kukunin lang yung meeting code, the link, and then anybody could just get inside the conference. That's called Zoom bombing. So do not share meeting details. And then discrete video conferencing. When you are video conferencing, you have your microphone and your camera, right? So when you do the conferencing, you do not, as much as possible, share highly confidential information. You do not share it because you do not know who else could be listening. You mute your microphone and then you turn off your camera when you do video conferencing unless you are told to do so, told to unmute yourself or open your camera, because you will not know. Your household also deserves privacy. Yung background, you could be unknowingly sharing your video that may be a source of controversy later. So as much as possible, if you can, you use virtual background because the virtual background in Zoom hides your background. And also, if you're a teacher, this is an example from my co-teachers kasi students may make memes out of your screenshots. And this one, I know you know what this is. You have heard it's a news. Diba? You have seen it in Facebook. So that's tawag niyan, carelessness in using the Zoom. What happened was that the barangay captain, while he turned off his camera in his PC, forgot that dalawa pala yung kanyang ginagamit na gadget. The other, I think, is a phone or a tablet. He failed to turn off the camera in his tablet. I think the other one is a tablet kasi wider ang angle. Also, do not post screenshots or screen grabs online of Zoom or Google meetings without everyone's permission. Because remember, your faces constitute personal information. Your attendance in meetings is also crucial information because it says your whereabouts. So do not screenshot and post online without everybody's consent. Everyone who is in the screenshot. Okay. Group chats. When you do group chat, you have to be very prudent. You have to be very mindful of privacy because there is no such a thing as a private group chat. The fact na marami kayo sa isang group chat, hindi na siya private, right? So it's not anymore private because there are so many of you in that group chat. In fact, you know what libel is? Libel happens when statements that are defamatory are published, and there is publication when there is a third person who reads or knows about it. If there are only two parties, ako and yung kausap ko ang nasa chat, nagkaka-insultuhan kami, that's a private conversation. I don't think there's any liability there kasi it's just between you and I. But if there's a third party who happens to have read our chat kasi kasama siya sa group chat na yon, then it's not anymore private. So you could be liable for that. So group chats, the fact that it's a group chat is not a private sphere. It is public. Okay? So when you are in the group chat, you handle confidential data carefully. Do not just attach and send files for everyone to see. Good now that Facebook has the remove function, but you can only remove it, I think, within a few minutes. Okay? If you are working on a shared space, for example, internet cafe or shared computers or sharing of facilities, avoid public viewing. Like, kung naa ka sa internet cafe, do not just allow people to eavesdrop sa imuhang computer to look at your monitor. Kasi kung, for example, may ka-chat ka or may ka-email ka, while it's your email, you have it for somebody else also. You have an image or data of another person there in the computer. So avoid sharing through public viewing. So be discreet. Kung pwede, you tilt the monitor or find a spot na dili siya basta-basta. I mean, if there is another place if there's another place where you can work discreetly aside from an internet shop, then go there. But if none, just be careful of or be aware of your surroundings if there are people who are eavesdropping or viewing your screen. If you're working in an internet cafe or in a shared computer or premises, do not save files in the hard drive of that computer. Always bring with you your portable hard drives, your thumb drives, or your hard disks. Do not save your work in the computer itself. Save it in a portable device. Because if you save it in that computer, then it's going to be available for anybody who is going to use that computer. Discrete browsing. When you browse, do it discreetly. Use browsers that do not store cookies. Google store cookies. Cookies are the features in your, it's like this, di ba? When you use Google Chrome, may predictive mode siya. It could predict what you are going to type. One of them is because of what you have previously searched using Google, kasi it stored cookies. When you open a website the second time around, it's a lot faster than the first time kasi na-share na-save niya na ang cookies ng website na iyon because of my previous visit. As much as possible, you use Firefox. Firefox does not save cookies. If you have to use Google, because maganda ang format na Google Chrome, you go incognito. You find incognito at the one of the options in the upper right-hand corner of the Google browser. After you use the computer, you clear history. Always clear history. Pag humana gani, move on na. Clear history na. Diba? Wala ibili na memories. Move on na good. And then, of course, you log out. You log out. You log out. Always log out because hacking instances or reports of hacking actually are not hacking incidents, but you are just negligent. You failed to log out your account. There is this phenomenon, by the way, also on cookies. Um, Facebook and YouTube has this. Remember, have you noticed? Sorry. Have you noticed that when you use Facebook, the ads are somehow tawag nito, targeted to you. Kung mahilig ka sa computer, the ads seem to be about computers. If you have browsed this certain um, blog, that certain blogs bumabalik-balik sa iyong Facebook kasi ang Facebook together with YouTube and Google also monitors your browsing behavior. But it's okay because you carry that with you wherever you go. What I am talking about cookies here is the cookies of specific browsers that you have to delete. Okay? So again, when you use your browsers, treat it as your ex-boyfriend, ex-girlfriend. You always clear history so you can move on. You always rid yourselves of the memories. Okay? Especially the bad ones. You have to have a good working environment when you work or study from home. That is my that is where I am right now. That's my home office. I do not have too much paper because too much clutters also the mind. I have the TV for Zoom meetings for my large classes and when I do video okay, when I'm bored after my lecture. Other tips, I think we still have some more time. Prevent malware from compromising your personal files or your school or employer systems. You use antivirus. But be careful with using antivirus systems because sometimes the antivirus could be the virus themselves. There are downloadable antivirus softwares out there that is good for you for 30 days. After 30 days, they become the virus themselves kasi kinukulit kayo. Would you like to purchase the full version? And then pinapahina niya intentionally ang system mo para you will be having the impression na may virus ka na and you have to buy it para tanggalin niya yung virus na yon. But actually, reports have been said na those slowdowns are caused by the downloadable antivirus system. As much as possible, buy legitimate antivirus software. Ayaw lang na downloadable, not the downloadable software from the internet. Do not be negligent with your emails and other accounts. There are malicious websites that when you open corrupts your gadget or hacks into your system. And there are malicious emails that contains links to these websites or services. Earlier this year, this virus, that leads you to this link that leads you to a certain website that will upload virus in your in your cell phones, attacked everyone's gadgets early this year. I think Christmas to January. So do not just click simply because it is in your email or it pops in your Facebook account. Do not click simply because it tells you that this is interesting. Okay? Okay. Do not make use of suspicious apps. Google Play actually removed so many suspicious apps in their Google Store because these apps, although they gave services that are good, slowed down gadgets and overused batteries. But there are apps out there who will not only steal your battery life, but also your personal information. One is FaceApp, and the other one is TikTok. So TikTokers out there, careful lang. Okay? Don't overshare. Keep personal information to yourself. Remember that when you post anything online, it becomes public property. Not that anybody can use it. Public property means it's available to the public eye. You um, you only remember that whatever you post online could be copy pasted or subject of or screen grab or be screen grab. You maintain private your social media. I'm not saying that kanang private na you are the only one who can view it. By private, I mean you choose your friends whom you are going to add. Just do not approve just because there is a friend request. Verify who is this person asking for the approval to be a friend. Because some would just create accounts to get into your account, your profile, so they can steal your pictures. So just don't approve because the requesting party is cute. Verify first. Who is this party? Who are our mutual friends? Then I will ask the mutual friend, kilala mo ito si ganito? Kung kilala, then add. Pag hindi, baka ano yan, poser. Right? So keep it private. Turn off automatic location functions because you could easily be tracked where you are with your automatic location functions. Your whereabouts is your right also. The privacy of your whereabouts is your right. Don't check in everywhere you go. There are some of us who just post on Facebook whatever happens to our lives. I am right now in ganito. I am right now in ganyan. Uh, well, if you're the only person in your boarding house and you posted in your Instagram or Facebook where you're at present, ATM, well, people who could have bad intentions sa yung boarding house could go there kasi alam nila na wala ka doon. Steal your things or whatever. So don't just check in everywhere you go. I mean, it's not a national issue. The world won't go berserk kung dili ka makapag-check in wherever you go. And it's not anybody's business to know that you are sipping iced tea in Marco Polo Hotel na wala na karon, di ba? Don't share pictures of others without consent, similar to screen grabs of Zoom meetings, because it may offend people. There are instances when pictures may have been taken for private use, but it's not intended for posting. You always ask permission after taking the picture. Can I share this on Facebook? If the person says no, respect the person when he says no. Okay? But when he says yes, then go on and share it. But be careful with the caption because the picture may be legit, but the caption may be offensive. So don't just share pictures of others without consent. Don't share information of others without consent. This is a common error by many. You see this 911 website ng Facebook or the Davao Emergency Operation something ng Facebook or anywhere in Facebook. People find IDs, take pictures of it, and post it online. Anybody knows this person who he lost his ID, please contact him. Why do you need to post that ID? When in fact you can send, you can look for the person himself on Facebook. Remember how many Facebook users in the Philippines? Chances are there's a great chance that he is also in Facebook. Why do you need to post it so that people will know that you are kind-hearted? Don't do that. When you post the SSS ID or credit card online, picturean mo kasi nakita mo, you are exposing the person to identity theft. Pwedeng nakawin yung kanyang credit card number. Pwedeng nakawin yung kanyang social security number. And ikaw pa ang may kasalanan, although nagmagandang loob ka. So do not post other people's personal information without their consent. Please, you could go to jail. Always remember that. Of all the things that I shared with you today, this is among the most important. Don't post anything. This is not for you, but if you have your, maybe later on when you become professionals, do not post anything related to your work or your client. Because who knows, that could destroy your company or violate your client's privacy. Okay? Maybe you work for a bank and then you tell everyone, this millionaire, this person, very prominent in real estate, I got his account today. Yes, ganyan. Then you may be oversharing already because he may not want others to know na may bank account siya with you. Consider who is going to see your post. Do not just post anything simply because trip mo lang. Consider that there are people out there who may be easily offended. Consider that there are minors out there whose decency, sense of decency may be slighted. This is not privacy anymore, but this is integrity of the person. This one is important. Always remember that deleted files on your USB drives or hard drives could be recovered. Kahit na i-delete mo pa yan, there are free softwares out there, Recuva, TestDisk, so on. These are downloadable free. Let's say na-delete mo yung file sa USB accidentally. You download these files and then you can retrieve that file again. What is the implication of this? Na-reformat mo ang iyong flash disk or hard drive, binenta mo. Anyway, confident ka na kasi nabenta mo na empty na siya, but actually it's not empty. Whenever you delete a file, it's not actually deleted. It is just marked for overwrite. Remember, kapag nag-delete ka, your hard disk does not go faster. Kapag nag-delete ka, it's only marked for overwrite. But the file is still there unless it is already overwritten. Okay? Many incidents of yung mga scandal is because of this. Nagpaayos ng gadget, akala na-delete na, na-recover. Ganyan. By the way, if you have to get a service provider for your phones or computers, go to a legitimate service provider. As much as possible, if you can wait for the service to be done, especially if you have secrets in your hard drives or phones. Dispose of files properly. You can shred physical files and not recycle documents that are containing confidential information. Do not allow unauthorized persons to get inside your work area. Again, because your computers are there, who knows your password may no longer be needed kasi naka-open na account mo kasi nga yung area yon. Do not allow other persons to get inside your area, the area where you work. This is true to the student as well as to the employee later on. As a student and a soon-to-be professional, always keep a good filing system. Because again, if you're handling personal information or sensitive personal information, aside from the right to privacy, your clients have the right to the integrity of their records, meaning, di ba, the right of rectification. If you misplace records, you may be liable for erroneous outputs. But if your records are organized, your outputs are more accurate also. If you have confidential information that are highly classified, do not put it in a computer that is online. Store it somewhere offline. And if you have to use the computer offline, remove the hard drive, the portable hard drive. Do not connect to the computer when there is a hard drive containing highly confidential information. Any computer can be hacked. Any computer, for as long as you are online. I mentioned this a while back, but in offices, computers must not be facing the clients. What the clients must see is the rear portion of the computer. If you're working for a bank, your computers, if you notice airline companies, bank companies, yung computer nila hindi nasa side, nasa harap. Kasi baka makita ng third party yung last account opened ng teller. So always, the computer should not be in the direct view of the clients. And this one, you have the clean desk policy. When you work, you leave your working space clean when you leave. So that the next day when you arrive, malinis din ang iyong isipan. You start fresh. And when you begin working, you only place in your tabletops documents that you need. Do not put everything there na hindi mo naman kayang gawin or kayang galawin in the workday. Only place in your table what you need immediately. It will save you your sanity, at the same time, the privacy of your documents. Also, use storage devices responsibly. When you carry with you your thumb drives, you're actually carrying with you your life. Kapag nawala yan, nawala din ang content niyan. Kung may personal information dyan relating to the identity of others, baka you become liable kasi you became negligent, you lost your thumb drives. And on the side note, I have encountered so many students who failed to submit their thesis on time because they lost their thumb drives, their hard drives, or they have no backups. When you keep a file, keep backups always. And if you have to keep a backup, be careful where you place it and how you handle it. So I think that's it. If you have questions, I will be ready to answer your questions.
So yes, tapos na si Sir. So if you have any question, guys, please don't be, like, huwag kayo matakot na magtanong because this is for the benefit of all of us. So if you have any question, you may ask. Just click the raise hand button on your screen. And also, if you're anxious, pwede na natin i-chat sa ating, sa ating chat box. So, while waiting for their questions, actually, I have a question, sir.
Ako din, may question ako sa iyo pero mauna ka, sige.
Ay, sige. Okay. So, my question, sir, is that ako kasi yung tipo na madaling makalimot and then, ay, charot. And then, my password isahan lang for all my accounts. Like, is it okay na connected lahat ng accounts ko sa isang account? Like, di ba, like Facebook, connected sa Google, kasi ganun kasi mostly yung nangyayari. Will it be okay na connected sila sa isang
Right now, actually, most of our accounts are connected because if you make an email, it will ask for a backup email, right? If you register with Facebook, it will ask for an email. If you register to this certain service, it will ask for your email. All our accounts are interconnected. There is nothing wrong with that because it also allows for security. For example, if somebody attempted to open my Facebook, my Google account, which I registered to Facebook, emails me that there was an attempt. Okay lang yan. Even I could be texted kung somebody attempts to open my school account. It's okay. But since our accounts are mostly connected, you hack one, if one is hacked, everything is compromised. So you have to have a very strong password for that account. Very strong password. And it's also not that. Most of us do not actually log out of our gadgets, di ba?
Yes.
And if we lose our gadgets, madaling i-open kasi yan, yung phone mo na nakalock. So kapag nawala yung gadget mo, go to the nearest computer and log out remotely all your accounts so that hindi lang ang gadget mo ang nawala para hindi din mawala yung iyong privacy.
Okay, so thank you, sir. Noted na po siya. So, di ba sir, may question ka, sir?
Ayaw na.
Ay, okay. So,
just trying to intimidate you.
Ay!
Work ba? Okay.
So,
Sige.
actually, we also have question, DPM lang siya. And then, here it goes. We will make, question ni Danielle. We will make a complaint to the court or National Data Agency. Sir, what
Okay.
are the things that we should bring for our complaint to be acceptable and valid?
Okay. First, if you are going to complain sa National Privacy Commission, you should have evidence that pumunta kayo sa school or sa institution or sa business, nag-complain kayo. So, as much as possible, I suggest a written complaint na napareceive ninyo. Because the Data Privacy Commission most likely will ask of what actions did you take upon knowing of, for example, the data breach. Did you talk to the establishment first? Okay, that's also essential. For me, what actions, proof of what action the institution through the DPO, the Data Privacy Officer, has done. If it costs you damage, the National Privacy Commission is not actually the right office for that. It's already the court. So if you go to the court, actually the National Privacy Commission can help you out by giving out its advisory after you have submitted the complaint and your documents na I mentioned earlier. But aside from that, if you go to court, bring with you proofs na ikaw ay na-damage talaga? What proof do you have of the lost opportunity? What proof do you have of na nasira yung reputation mo because of the wrong information given, ganyan. So any proof that can come to your possession, but do not forget that before you go to the National Privacy Commission or the court, it is essential that you make your complaints first to the business or to the establishment, the PIC, through the data protection officer, because the data protection officer is registered with the National Privacy Commission. For example, ako, I am the data protection officer of my school. I am registered with the National Privacy Commission. Under oath, I am obligated to protect the interests of my data subjects as some sort of registered, not agent, but representative of the National Privacy Commission. So you go first to the establishment, specifically to the data protection officer, and require action first before you go to the NPC or the court. Hello?
Sorry, nakamute pala ako.
Okay.
So,
Sige.
Daniel, so you have heard it. So, yun nga yung sinabi ni Sir. And then, guys, if I am encouraging you all to ask questions if you have. Meron pa ba? Okay, so my question na naman. Do you think, Sir, having a national ID in our country is needed? Ayun.
Ayun, okay. Actually, double-edged sword kasi siya, yung national ID. Earlier in the 90s, I think during the time of President Ramos, there was a movement, a clamor for the national ID system. In one case, I think it even reached the Supreme Court. But the Supreme Court mentioned that too much information is dangerous for in the hands of an unscrupulous government, for example. No? But that was in the 90s when we were still stigmatized by the former regime. I know some of you have difference in opinion as far as the Marcos regime is concerned, but doon nang galing kasi ang konteksto ng ating constitution and the apprehensions about the national ID system. But right now, I think things have changed. Things have changed because tayo lahat, we readily surrender personal information everywhere. Again, example ko is yung Facebook, di ba? We take pictures of our cars. We take pictures of our minor yung mga anak, ating mga siblings. We take pictures of our ating bahay, ganyan. Or of other people, or videos pa nga, di ba? We even post our hate post about our ex-boyfriends or girlfriends, or we even post awkwardly, di ba, in Facebook. I mean, we have changed a lot of how we handle our personal information, and sometimes that's alarming. But what is important right now is the collective experience of the need for the unified system to give better government services. For example, ang mga reklamo about the ayuda, yung reklamo about government assistance na yung iba nabigyan, yung ibang hindi. Kasi mahirap kasi ipinpoint ang tao and verify their families or addresses. But with the national ID system, I think it's a lot easier to categorize or classify or profile people to give out services similar to itong mga ayuda. Also, if you have the national ID system, you won't be keeping so many IDs in your wallets that you have to take out individually when you go to the SSS, PhilHealth, and so on and so forth. Isang ID na lang, isang unified ID to handle or to become your ID for all your governmental transactions. Mas madali ang government services, although care and caution must be taken because again, the information collected for that unified ID is dangerous in the hands of a tyrant. Thank you. Oy, nakamute ka, ma'am. Okay.
Nakamute na naman ako. So, sorry. So, yun nga. So, actually, everything has its effect. If, kung ma-abuse siya, yes, it is really ano tawag yun, will post threats, but in moderation lang talaga. So, question are coming out. Okay, na-flood na ako ng questions. So, next, we have, what is the best way po to protect an individual's privacy while not impeding future innovation? And should the way be different po for online or offline contexts? Ayun.
What's the last question?
So
The last line.
should the way be different po for online or offline contexts?
Okay. Innovation, with innovation kasi, when you innovate positively, uh, those people with unscrupulous intentions will also innovate. Remember, ang scams before the proliferation of online services, yung swindling, from budal-budel to mga ganung klaseng mga scams, yung may magdala ng gold sa iyong office, sabihin na nakakita ng treasure, mga ganyan before. Even yung fortune telling was the scam before. Right now, scams are online. Yung mga PM is the key, mga ganyan. When there is innovation, there is also innovation of the criminal mind. Dangers are always possible when we introduce changes or innovations in technology or in the way we do business. The only way for the collective to protect itself from these threats is for innovation itself to come up with ways to protect users from abuses. So it's not only that we maintain strong passwords, that we keep an open mind and be vigilant about how our identities could be stolen and so on and so forth. The service providers, when they innovate, must also create means to keep up and update itself with the possible criminal use and abuse of their services. So hindi lang naman para sa public yan, para sa service providers din. But for us, keeping strong passwords is not enough. Prudence is not enough. Sometimes what is needed is siguro yung the rational use of information. We just do not give out information when it is not necessary. We only give out what is essential, and we must be prudent before we share information. Parang kung sa atin, think before you post, think before you send, and always ask yourself, is it right for me to disclose this information? Prudence, have to be careful on how we handle our data. Even yung as simple as choosing a pin for your ATM, automated teller machine cards. I find your pin. It requires for 6 digits. Usa kaya ni 6 digits? When is her birthday? 08 15 year 1994. Then that is my password, 081594, and I open your bank account, your ATM. I mean, it's not prudent to select a pin that is too obvious, right? From the simple things to the more complicated practices, dapat we should be prudent. Thank you.
So, ayun. Guys, wag daw mag-password ng masyadong halatang information. So, okay, we have a question actually. We are advised by our city government coming from different city to register in their contact tracing ID where we are to fill in our personal information such as name, address, and etc. Is this okay ba daw po?
Yes, that is okay. Remember, one of the exceptions for the processing of sensitive personal information, including your health records, is when there is a threat to life and health and national security. So now, the pandemic is a threat to life and health. It is an inherent obligation of the government to protect us, and it is our duty as citizens to disclose appropriately, because if you fail to disclose, we'll also be putting in danger the lives of other people. When you submit yourself to inspection, and once you disclose your personal information, yung pangalan mo, address mo, yung exposure mo to PUIs or etc., um, these are sanctioned by law, permitted by law, and these documents are actually by law also, as far as their privacy is concerned, is highly protected. So don't worry about it. Um, these are measures taken for public welfare and for public good. These are not for marketing purposes. These forms nga, if you go to the mall, are from DTI. From DTI. If you go to Samal, the QR code is from the LGU. Diba? So, these records are closely monitored and their privacy is highly regarded. So don't worry about it. It's okay.
Okay, thank you, sir. Oh my gosh, maraming question for you, sir. So, meron pa. How will you know if a website is secured or reliable?
Okay. First, there is um, in some browsers there is a warning na if there is no digital certificate for that website, it prompts you of the website being of suspicious content. That's one possibility. Another is before clicking on the website, maybe you can just ask around if others have visited the website also. You can do research. Madali na ma-research lahat ng bagay ngayon. You can copy-paste the website service, Google, and then it will come out there for complaints or comments about the website. Do the research first, especially if the website is unpopular, or if the browser says that it has suspicious content. Just don't click simply because it says it's interesting. Do the research first. But there are websites that are really popular na you don't anymore doubt if they are legit or not, diba? The ones that we frequently visit. There are websites also that mimic other websites. There are mimics, bank websites that appear to be the official website of one bank. That could be possible. So before you get into the website of a bank, do the research first. Go to the bank, ask for go over their handouts, their pamphlets. You will see there the official website, or read advertisements. There are links there. Thank you.
So, yeah. So, before you click, guys, research muna kung hindi siya popular so that hindi ma-compromise yung safety na yung data. Next from the question is
Excuse me,
that,
before that,
okay, sure.
like in your schools perhaps, no, may mga wifi man ang maraming schools dito. Some of the schools will permit only will disallow access to certain websites. Like in my school, from 7:30 to 5 o'clock, we cannot access Facebook. And then if you try to open live streaming site, it does not open because it is blocked by our firewalls or by our administrators. Sometimes we get in our reports that students were clicking on certain suspicious sites as porn sites and ganyan. But actually, these sites were accidentally clicked because it was in the email. Nung pala, pag click ng website, porn site pala. Di ba? Or a malicious website. So if it's in your email, double check it. If it's sent by somebody whom you know that the context naman of the person, how he writes. If how it is written is not in the same way, in the way he writes you, straight English, when in fact he only writes you in Tagalog or Bisaya or mixed, maybe his account is hacked, or maybe it's a duplicate or mimic account. So always be prudent. Thank you.
Ayun. So, yung mga, dyan, nagsasend sa GC, tanungin nyo muna kung ano yung sinesend nila. Wag agad click ng click, ha? So, next is that, is there a way to know if our data are being breached?
Actually, many of us may have already been breached without us knowing it. Sometimes it is difficult to detect unless somebody reports it. When somebody tells you na you have a second Facebook account, or somebody PM'd me from your chat account, sometimes it is difficult to know. Sometimes really it's difficult to know. Thank you.
So, eto last two questions po, sir. Pero ito nga muna isa. Are there any exception to the application of the Data Privacy Act?
There are. Yun nga yung kaganina yung ako. Process data when there is a court order. When there is a court order, even if the data subject resists, then the court order prevails, because the court order gives an excuse to the PIC to give out documents. Legitimate research by legitimate research companies or establishments could be exempted, but the output should also be mindful of the privacy of the data subjects. There are exceptions. Like yung sinabi kanina, yung necessary to preserve life and health or national security. So it's not a hard and fast rule because it protects also public welfare. Thank you.
And for our last question from our active participants for this webinar, are companies required to appoint someone who should be responsible for ensuring compliance with the Data Privacy Act?
Yes, the person that must be appointed is called the Data Protection Officer. The Data Protection Officer is required to be appointed when the company handles sensitive personal information. Actually, if, for example, even public offices, no? For private offices or private businesses, if I have regional offices or if I have branches, aside from the data protection officer, there is a so-called COP, the compliance officer for privacy, who must be appointed for every branch. So one DPO and then COPs for every branch. For example, for the LGU or for the national government, a national agency, for example, CHED, for example, CHED, must have a data protection officer. But in its regional offices, it must have a COP, compliance officer for privacy. So the appointment of the DPO, the data protection officer, is necessary. The COP is on a case-to-case basis. But what is required is the DPO. Not only that, companies are required also to register not only the DPOs, but also their information systems. So your online enrollment system in Holy Cross, Assumption, are registered with the National Privacy Commission. Yung database sa finance office ninyo, the treasurer's office, or whatever office you have, are also registered with the National Privacy Commission. Without this registration, the processing of information could be said to be irregular, if not illegal. So, thank you.
So, ayun. Are there any question? Kung meron man, please chat us and I'll count to up to 10 kung wala na, so that we can proceed. So, I'll be counting 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, parang wala na, 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. So, there are no more questions for this, So, asa na ba yung partner ko? Thank you so much, sir, Attorney Edgar, for answering our questions for this webinar. So, Mitch, where are you?
Yes, Abby.
Yes,
Thank you, Attorney Edgar, for that very detailed discussion. I like the part where he discussed the tips on video conferencing, especially yung do not share the virtual meeting details in a public post and do not post screenshots of participants in the meeting without the consent of the individuals. Those tips are really helpful for me since, as you know, Abby, I'm one of the admins of a particular FB page. So
Yes,
now I know
no?
my obligations. How about you, Abby?
Actually, I also like the idea na dapat hindi natin ginagawang diary yung ating mga social media accounts, no? Because masyadong marami ng information ang ating pinalagay dun. Also, I like, it's very detailed. The tips is actually not only for individuals, for our participants, but also, it help us, NFJP na i-improve ang aming paano kami sa social media namin para naman hindi tayo makulong siya. Okay. So,
Yes,
okay.
I like that too, Abby. Indeed, we learned a lot in today's webinar. Moving on, may we call on Mr. Joshua Tiagan, the VP for Academics, to present his certificate. Okay, so the certificate reads National Federation of Junior Philippine Institute of Accountants, Region 11, Sotonawa, Certificate of Appreciation is hereby presented to Attorney Edgar B. Pascot II for imparting his invaluable contribution as resource speaker during the NFJP Academic Festival webinar on the topic Data Privacy Act held on August 30, 2020. Given this 30th day of August 2020, signed by Mayor Abigail F. Gonzalez, Regional Council President, Joshua Noel B. Tiagan, Regional Vice President for Academics, and Sir Rick Nicholson Nazaro, CPA, the Regional Moderator.
Mitch is actually September 6 na tayo ngayon, Mitch.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
So, ayun nga. Thank you so much, Sir Edgar. Any words po, sir? Like, find your words, your final, closing?
Well, it's really nice to be around young people as a teacher. I find events like this as invigorating, recharging me, reminding me that I'm already old, but because I forever am a teacher, your organization can always email me for your legal questions, especially on privacy or other legal questions. That's my gift to you. So thank you for inviting me.
Yeah, thank you rin po, sir, for accepting our invitation po for this webinar. So, I guess that would be all for today's webinar, guys. Thank you for coming, and I hope that the knowledge you gained in this seminar will help you on handling your data and keeping it safe. So, before we end this morning session, may I request everyone to please turn on your camera? Will that be okay? Mag-picture muna tayo, guys, with sir. And also, we would like to ask your permission kung pwede ba namin i-post ang etong picture na to sa aming social media accounts. If that's a yes, please type na lang sa ating chat box. And if no, okay, that will be no. It will be fine.
To make it easier for you, you can say, if anyone objects,
If
please
anyone,
object at our chat box. Ganyan.
yes,
Para mas konti
object.
na lang konti ang
Yes, kung mag-object kayo, guys, object na lang. Yes, okay. So, asan yung iba, guys? Woo! Turn on cameras, please. Ayan, let's see your pretty handsome faces naman. Ayun! Hi, everyone!
Bakit yung iba parang walang hilamos?
Nahalata na. Oh my gosh. Baka yung iba nga dyan, sir, wala pang kain. Nag-breakfast ba lahat? Pa-lunch na tayo. Baka brunch yan, guys, ha? Asa yung iba? Oh, konti lang. Hi, guys. Turn on your cameras naman. Okay. Asa yung iba? Guys. Para ayaw ata nila magpakita. Na-shock. Parang, okay, ayusin ko muna self ko. Bilis, no?
Okay, so wala tang nag-object. So Mag-take na tayo ng screenshot. Ako na lang mag-take. Okay. Smile everyone. 1, 2, 3. Isa pa. 1, 2, 3. Okay, next page muna ako. Since hindi tayo kasya lahat sa isang frame. Smile. 1, 2, 3. And last. 1, 2, 3. Okay na.
Ayun. So, thank you so much everyone for turning on your cameras and having a picture with us for this Data Privacy Act webinar. Participants of Trade Law Updates, we'll see you later. Have a fun lunch, guys. Bye. See you later. Thank you so much. Bye-bye.
Please answer the evaluation, guys, before you leave. Thank you.
Oh, yes, guys. Don't forget the evaluation form for us to improve our... Hala, yung iba, feel ko nakatulog na to sila. Kaya? Hi, everyone. Oo. If you have any shout-out, sige, pa-shout-out natin, ano? Ayan. So, the evaluation